to my stream watchers, because when I hit play, there's nobody there yet. Brilliant, right? So what you're looking at here is a screenshot. I posted this on Reddit, so go check it out. Unreal Engine subreddit. Go upvote me because you like me. I don't know. Here's my animation setup. Basically, it's the menu map. It's really cool. Is, for example, for the animation that I'm about to do here, I can just throw in a chair. So if I should probably make this character like drop down to the center too. Let's see. Woo. Let's get the mesh here. Shit. $88 was what I was using for somebody else, so that looks right, at least. Okay. I got some point lights out here. I should make them proper setup, shouldn't I? It's a key, fill, and a hair light. This is pretty awful close, just seeing it in the scene. Right on, so let me just make sure my stream is looking proper. Okay. Let me demonstrate what I've been able to do so far, and I have tested this in multiplayer already just now. I'm just not going to show the multiplayer because, you know, with OBS running, it can be bad. So anyway, I just had all these dudes here. I fixed the skeletal meshes had some interesting problems when you crouch, so I'll show you what the workarounds were. That now when I crouch, I'm actually getting a smaller collision capsule here. And there's no like small things to crouch under here, but I can demonstrate that. Oh, I can demonstrate that here. So let me just do that real quick. But I can show you this. This was like one of the first requests by Rule 1. Shout out to Rule 1. Just type that in here. If it pops up. Hashtag priorities. So if I do this, bloop doop, I can still use the torch. I can still equip my backpack and whatnot. Remove the backpack. Drop stuff. I could drop the torch down there if I wanted to. Maybe. Might as well. Woo! There it is. That was dumb. If I hit spacebar, he slowly stands up. I'm gonna go get that. I don't have any fall damage implemented yet, so hopefully I should just be able to get this. Doop. Oh, shit. Alright, got it. Cheating. So, I got sleep. I gotta work on some of the transitions, of course, you know, like, but I can go in between these two states, and also I've implemented all of the emotes as slash commands, and they work while you're sitting, etc. They don't work while you're sleeping. Thusly, I can do wake as well, wake or stand. Oh, now he'll wave. That's one thing I gotta work on, making it so that the emote doesn't fire. I guess I can just put a delay on so that it's not, so it automatically turns off instead of like, I don't know. But let me just demonstrate the capsule collision thing. There's a couple of settings I had to change. I'm using master pose component on the clothing, and I'm scaling my characters, so I had to be sure to set a bool value on each skeletal mesh that I'm using master pose component on, called let's see if I can just, if I have it open. No. Use absolute scale. Set absolute scale to true. Just on begin play here when I'm setting master compose component and whatnot, and I had to parent the meshes onto the mesh, so this goes on here. And this was to make, so this going onto here prevented the mesh clothing from like going underground. I think I also had to set something else for the crouch tool. Oh, I had to use a custom crouch thing too, so crouching. So, you know, if you're underwater, so if you're not underwater, if you're building, if you're currently crouching, if you're not running, we set server crouching. This could disappear, apparently. Oh yeah, I was using that as a false for something else. So server's crouching will say it's crouching, will do this crouch collision capsule and set your walk speed. So crouch collision is just going to, oh no, I didn't use the custom. That's right, when I was using custom, basically saying, changing the capsule half height and capsule radius, it wasn't happy about that. And this worked better eventually. At first this wasn't working and I was using a different method, so I guess eventually I ended up keeping crouch, the function that's built into character. But like I said, I had to enable master pose components because of master pose component. Here it is. I had to do absolute scale on them, otherwise the clothing like shifted off the characters. Anyway, let me demonstrate the capsule of crouching. So as you can see here, like my camera's getting clipped because of some crap, but you can tell I can't get under there, right? Not until here. Okay, so if I'm here, I get pushed out, right? You see that? I get pushed out. But if I crouch, see that? I crouched under it. So the camera is clipping because we're like inside a really bad collision. But yeah, if I do this, I can't get under there. Here we go. Can't get under, crouch, went under. So crouching, working. I also, so I can just hit spacebar to stand up. I did the bed better. The bed is much better now. So let's check that out. I'm gonna make it so this doesn't appear if it's if there's no text in that. I really have to remember that. So I've moved the house way over yonder. So I can just zoom out for a moment here. So I think my streams are gonna be more demonstrative. That's how you're supposed to say it, but it sounds like you're saying monster. I always thought. So, demonstrative. I'm going to be more demonstrating-ish. Rather than just sitting there banging my head against walls when I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'll just kind of try and show off when I do know what I'm doing. So today what I'm going to do first is make a sit and chair animation. Since I've already done the sit and bed animation, and one of the challenges I'm providing myself is to make it so that when you interact with the chair, you reach down, pull the chair back, step in front of it, pull the chair in place, so that when the chair is like surrounded by other chairs and tables and stuff, you don't clip through things. Well, the chair might clip through things behind it, but I'll have to remember that when designing. So obviously I'm going to turn off that that arrow, but that's just you know, I'm technically showing where it is the character is going to go. Let's just drop this on the bed so we have some lighting. There we go. So if I use it, hey, wait a second. He's playing the old animation. What the fuck happened there? What? No, I think it just has a checkbox changed. Oh, he's gonna teleport into some weird place when I quit in the bed. I had to fix that. So, let me go into those animations. Sleep in bed. Did it somehow, like I didn't save the newer version of it somehow? That would really suck. It was a pain in the ass. So when using the control rig, you just got to go here and tell it what character to use. So, oh, what the fuck? That is weird. I must have had like an engine crash without saving and didn't realize it. So this isn't too hard. I can show you how to edit and refix one of these animations in Engine. Sorry. So first, I'm basically just going to, just in case, I'm going to select all. When you're in this camera is when you can hit enter to add keyframes. So I'll right click here, move around a little, or if you have one of these things and hit enter, it'll apply to that only. But if you have all selected and then you know are in cam, if you have this window selected, essentially when you press enter, it'll add keyframes. So I've got that. Now let's take, basically all I'm trying to do is the body location here. 32, that was the number I last pasted in. Let me see this. No, it looks like it is supposed to be further over. So if I take this over a little bit, see here, hit enter, basically as good as that, I'm done now. I can go over this again. You see he shifts over a bit more. Hopefully that's good enough. So now I'll just export the sequence, select a different mannequin. I don't know if this is the right one or not, so we'll just do this. Yeah, that worked. Okay, convert, go to its location. Now we're gonna retarget to my skeleton, which does not work in the animator, so I have to do that. So now, now that I have it, I hit back. Yeah, what's it doing? Okay, went back too far. No, back again. There it is. So I'm going to delete the mannequin one. Let me just make sure I only have that one selected, just in case the other folder was still selected. Okay, and now I'm also going to, first it has to delete the mannequin one. It's taking a while. It's kind of weird, actually. I wonder if it like ran out of memory or something. Man, don't be like, okay, there we go, cool. Okay, now I'm also gonna delete the one that's in use right now, and you'll see it's in use, so I'll do replace with, go to sleep, go to bed fix. Go to sleep is a Radiohead song. Really good one. Okay, replace references, hit okay. It's gonna ask me to save everything, including the ones that are getting replaced, so I'll just hit yes. Because reasons. And there we go for the going to bed one. I have to do that again for the sleep one. So let's just go back here and, oh wait, no, if I hit 4, there it is. Let's just move this into the right folder. Oh, I have to, first you have to fix up redirectors because the name's going to be the same. And I also want to change its name. That takes a moment. So basically that's a complex series of file name changes and reorganizations that I've gotten down to almost like a rotation in an MMO. So let's do that again. So now what I want to do is delete this one, the sleep control rig. It is no good to me anymore. We're going to get the go to bed control rig sequence that has the updated movement. As you see, we can go here and check here. It's 52, not 34 or whatever. Now what I'm going to do is this save a copy as, and we'll just say, because there's still a redirector there, we have to name it something different or else the whole engine will crash. So we'll say sleeping fix control rig. Alright, and I can delete all these keyframes. When you're going down here, it only tracks downward movement when you're below the screen. Like, I don't know if that's just the way sequencer works, because apparently this uses sequencer as an editing interface for keyframes. So if you're good at sequencer, you should be a natural at animating here. So that's it for the sleeping. It's sleeping now, just sitting there. I'm going to blend it with the breathing in the animation blueprint. So, and I can just export this. Now I have to choose a different mannequin. It's just, I'll show you what happens if you don't. If you, oh, hey, okay, if you just try to go, yeah, new animation sequence, sleeping fix. Didn't work, right? I was hung up on that for a while, but you just have to keep switching back and forth between any two mannequins that work. The game mannequin and that dynamic sword mannequin work. Maybe just make a copy of one mannequin. Maybe it'll work. Maybe you have to export, re-import. I don't know. They're from two different marketplace sets. So now if I go here and do the same thing, I'll just call it sleeping fix, right? Now this is filled in. So if we rewind the play 5 minutes, you'll see that this was not getting filled in when I kept the same mannequin here. I have to keep changing which mannequin to export it to every time. Weirdest little bug, but this is 4.18.3. There you go. It took 3.5 seconds, 3 1/3 seconds exactly. Anyway, sleeping fix now. You can see on the basically when it exports, it's still on that character mannequin. So we're gonna target, and now I got to do the deleting shit. Sleeping fix can go. That was faster. Sleeping bed can. Yeah, okay, this can go, and I'm going to replace it with sleeping fix, and I have to remember to call it sleeping bed. So replace references there, save selected, and now see, if you don't fix up redirectors here, you won't be able to move this back to the original folder. If I try to go here, oh, nope, see, already exists. So that's why you have to fix up redirectors. It should be a common button that you're using. So now if I go back, move it in there. Basically a redirector is just like a, what? What? Oh, I called it sleeping ground. It does already exist. Well, that would have been the problem that you get anyway. It's like a reference. Okay. Everything's good to go. I'll just hit save all. I haven't changed the spawn point for foothills yet, so when I go back into the game, dude's gonna be in the ocean because of the bed thing. That's just like I have to adjust the save location when you're in a bed. It's not a big deal. But as you'll see, I'll be in the ocean here. Oh, look at that. I'm not in the ocean. Alright, everything's good to go. So let's just check out the new animation here. Whoa, what the fuck? It's worse? Maybe the torch is blocking me. No, it's worse? What the shit? I think enable root motion needs to be on. That's really weird behavior. I did get it working perfectly like yesterday, so I don't want to know why it would go back and why it's going the other direction now. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, that's it. I did not enable this on the new thing. This is very important for the one that has a different, because I'm blending into that pose from the going to bed one. So the one that is in bed needs to have the root motion enabled. Now you should be able to see. Let me full screen this. There we go. All right. So hopefully this saves this time. That was the thing. Last time it wasn't like, when I came back to the game, it wasn't there. Doing that, the animation wasn't there. Just see if the torch gets in the way at all. Nope, that looks good. Perfect. There's enough room. I could even possibly get 3 people sitting in the same bed. Though he's not on the pillow. Alright, inventory is full functioning. Can I get the... No. Stand up. Get the backpack. Torch. Alright. I have to get used to my own controls for the chat window. I'm still trying to figure out the best keyboard buttons to use for that. So that's a little backwards. I don't know how. Maybe I should make my own going from sleep to sitting animation, but just blending between the two states isn't terrible. Maybe it should just be faster. I made it real slow because I thought it would look cool, but no, it doesn't look cool. So let me show you some of my animation blueprint for all this logic. That's where it's at. Here you go. Got it? Okay, good. All that's coming out of my idle state. Going in just from sit down, coming out just from sit down. Same here. Going to bed is actually going to be sleeping. Go to bed. Going from sit down into sitting is going to be relevant anim time remaining. So that's just the sit down animation versus the sitting animation. You know, going to bed, sleeping. And so the transition is going to be time remaining. So that's just going into this state. Then you're stuck here perpetually until getting up is fired. Or is sleeping is fired to get switch between sleeping and sitting. So that's what I need to modify here. I made that 1.5. Probably like 0.2 looked like stupid, like it was too fast, it's like jolting awake. Let's try 0.5, a half second, see how that looks. Now, or you go from sitting into standing up, from stand up from sitting. So we have a transition bool, which then when that fires off, when that finishes, we use the anim and time remaining. And I have a blueprint set up in my character to automatically turn off is sitting down or is sleeping, like after the amount of time that the appropriate animation would take. So one thing here to point out is that if you're going to a bed, so if I use interact with a bed, I'm going to set this bool on. So then I'll have the go to bed that you know, is above ground. So let me put in bed and sleeping, and you can see, right? It's gonna play that way. Getting up fires. Okay, there you go. So if I do not in bed and sleeping, it'll fire this one and just go straight down like that. All right. Likewise, if you're gonna interrupt the process of sitting down with getting up or stand up from sitting, then it fires from here or here as well. So let's just look at how it happens if I go between sleeping and sitting with these settings. See, isn't it better when everything's already set up? Isn't this just much a better stream? I like it. I like it better. So if I do, see, I programmed it to turn one off if you hit the other in the blueprint. So we're just going to try and look at the animation itself. Ignore the fact that these are firing back and forth because that's not the way it works in the blueprint. It's just from me checking the checkboxes one at a time. So if I switch between, well, actually this will work if I turn off this first and then, okay. Swoop. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I could live with that. So now I want to make a sitting in a chair animation. So, well, let me show you my blueprint logic too, real quick. Just since I'm doing this whole expose. Alright, sit down, stand up. Radiohead song, go to sleep. Radiohead song, it's kind of funny. It all goes together. So, all the same album too. Not directly following each other, but very close. So I showed you the collision capsule. That's for crouching. That's separate, right? So sit down is also firing, is mostly firing from the controller on the slash commands. So I kind of have to show that a little bit. Oh, I did some interesting stuff too where you can, I'll show you a picture real quick. I was working with the wave hello at. So if you type hail, like if you actually type hail followed by anything, it fires off the wave and interact with NPCs function. So you can, you know, you can type hail to somebody, to a guard, like, you know, the way you Ultima Online worked with calling guards. If you had the word guards in your chat, it would activate the guards. So I figured, like, why not, you know, you can call the NPC whatever you want for fun, role playing, and he'll respond. But this isn't responding like because I insulted him. It's not that smart. This is just happens to be, I've, you know, in Warcraft where you click on a peon too many times, it starts getting upset. You you know, they get annoyed from clicking on them too many times. That's just why this is happening, because I've interacted with him twice in a row. Has nothing to do with what I called him, but it's kind of funny. Also, he's just doing this behavior as idle. He's not actually pissed off, but it makes for a good picture. Just telling you, this is totally fake. Doesn't show off all the... Just the fact that I'm able to type hail and any text here will trigger the dialogue window to open. That's the point. Just from typing it. And it makes my character do the thing. Also, I can type /wave, and it will do the, you know, interact with NPCs, or you can hit the emote for wave, or you can hit P when wave is your current emote, and it'll interact with NPCs too. So you don't have to say hail. If you don't want to roleplay saying hail, you can just type P. You know. I mean, not type, you can just press P. Or press wave, or type /wave. You can /wave at an NPC and it'll interact with them. So anyway, what I've been trying to show you is because of those slash commands working, which is like, we're on the controller? No, we're not, that's why. Oh yeah, I made it a... So this just comes in from when you enter a chat, you know, straight forward enough. Let me actually check that part for you. Incoming chat message. So here, text to send comes in. If the first character, so we're doing get character array from string, and then we're getting the first character of that array, and we're saying, is that character a backslash or a forward slash? And then Mr. Blueprint Marketplace buyer. So if true, we're going to process chat command and not do all the chat stuff. So on process chat command is actually just a event that fires this function, so I probably don't need that separately here. But anyway, here's my function. I realized doing the functions makes them actually much easier to edit on the fly, so I'm going to start converting all of my complex blueprints into functions. So here we're just getting the pawn if it's a horse or person. So all the different commands that I can type in. It's all just a switch on string, so we're going to take that string and say you can just add whatever you want to it. And so I've made them go, multiple of them go to the same one. So if you type confused, I don't know, unknown, clueless, head scratch, or what, it'll all do a head scratch emote. Yeah, I've seen some tutorials on data tables, not my cup of tea. Essentially, and that's where I say, oh, if it's wave, then client wave at, and sit down, stand up, sleep, no bed, and wake up. So sleep is, this is the only way you can just sleep on the ground, is by typing sleep. If you interact with a bed, it'll do the other sleep as a bed. So, for example, this one is going to sleep, no bed. It's going to say, are you sleeping currently? Well, if so, then turn off the fact that you're in bed, and say that you are sleeping. That seems out of place. Oh, no, if you aren't sleeping, oh, no bed, right, say no bed, going to sleep, turn on the crouch capsule. You say tomato, I say tomato, man. I mean, actually, I say tomato, but I'm just trying to show off how I do things. So don't be pitching your data tables here, boss. So stand up and say, are you sitting down? Then stand from sitting. But if you're not, then are you sleeping? If so, then wake up. And wake up is its own function you can fire as well. If you're sleeping, then get up. Turn off crouch collision. Turn on actor collision, because when you're in bed, I have it so that you're not colliding with anything, so that you're not clipping with the bed and causing all this slowdown on frame rates and stuff. And here's what I was talking about, where the difference in time. So first, when you turn it off, I'm waiting a second before turning off my my variables that I use to fire the animation blueprint. So turning these off doesn't actually do anything, so that's just kind of happening at a good convenient time right in the middle of the animation. Then if you're in bed or not, because remember the animation state is using the same, that's the variable that it's using, so depending on which one it's using, it's playing a different animation. So that's where I adjust it to go just past the duration of the animation, so that when I turn off in bed, it doesn't do any wacky transitions between the in bed and out of bed versions of the animation. And just after it, so that this is turned off, so that if you interact with a bed, you know, right afterward, it's ready to repeat. It's, you know, just a fraction of a second afterwards. So what's this guy over here? Stand from sitting, might as well. Piling. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. Oh, it's okay. Is happy. Yeah, maybe I also have Firefox open? No. I've got Pictures folder open. This Photos open. It's just compiling. Right on. So yeah, the more I put things into functions, the better it'll get. I'm thinking maybe I should put these into functions. But not too concerned with that right now. Let's make our animation. Gamer Flame King Troll. So, animation mode. I will new control rig sequence, sit in chair. I don't know if that's working right now, if I have my speakers off or the thing muted. Sorry, let me put my speakers on. Alright, got the character. Now why is it still look like that? There we go. Okay. You tend to spam that. That's why I put the cost in there, was particularly for you, because you're always spamming the speak command every day. So we have our setup here. Let's drag a chair in. It's in here. Grab his location. Paste that. Okay. This is no good. Why are these numbers crazy? Why are we at this crazy location? We should be closer to 0. Let's make him at 0, 0, 0. Make all these 0, 0, 0. 0, 0, 0. Alright. There we are. Take the point lights out. Put one of them behind him. Hair light. This is at 0, 0, 0, so actually this should be at like, what does that look? Alright, there we go. Let me save the map. Alright, so let's say whatever direction you approach it from, we'll get in front of it, facing it. So, wrong one. Also wrong one. I should have known that. Duh. Okay. And how did that? Alright, 50 units away. That's really easy to make an arrow for it. No. Alright, so here's where we start. So let's go into animation mode, add a track, control rig, base human. That's important. That starts it off. Make sure you're in this window, or no, select all, right click here, and then hit enter. Now we've got keyframes on everything. And if you want, let's see, how many seconds would this be? 30 frames per second, so this is like 2 seconds here. Let's make take 2 seconds. Now we can just move him around, put him in his final position. That's not the right one. Take the body, move that up a bit. Probably gonna want him like there. Hit enter. I can rotate him. I can't see the thing. 180. Right on. And enter. So let's grab the I think it's the lowest one you want to move him down. Yep, there we go. Okay, good, enter there. Move his hands down to the chair. Oh, there's no scale. It flips back and forth between move and I think some of them scale. Enter. Enter. So gotta move his feet up, obviously. Oh wow, this chair was perfectly built. So, oh, I totally missed it. It looks a little awkward, but let's select all. If I select all, do I need? Okay, so that would be if I just rotated in place, right? Let's just to make sure everything keyframes correctly, we're gonna select all, hit enter. All right, now let's drag these keyframes way out here for now. I'm gonna work with a different step. We want to grab the chair and push it back. So we're gonna want to put this down there. It's nowhere close to it yet, so we're gonna want to rotate a little bit. In order to rotate, you're gonna need to, oops, I didn't keyframe this one. So we want it on there. It's its desired location. Alright, but Nia is gonna have to pick up a little bit to take a step. This is going to have to come down a bit. Is this the right one? And then maybe bend a bit. Actually, I don't think I'm going to do the moving the chair thing. I'm just going to get in the chair, because I approached this the wrong way to move the chair first from the side before entering in, and that's just crazy complex for no reason. We'll just sit in the chair. It would be really cool, but it just sounds like it's pointlessly complex. So challenge unaccepted from self. Should hit enter before doing another one. There we go. We've reached the chair to some degree. That's not bad. if I can just, let's see. He's like flying around the hand. If I could just pin the hand there. So if I do, okay, that's weird. No. What? Damn it, bastards. Oh, I forgot to key it. Damn. Anyway. Enter. What would the left hand do during this time period? The lights need to come closer. It's very dark. Pretty damn good, though. I think if I just pull these closer, we'll be fine. I'll have to look at the left hand. But I mean, yeah. I'm digging it. Yeah, pretty good. Not bad, really. I should have had game mode on the whole time. Alright, the left hand's totally weird at the start here. Let's move these to normal positions to start with. Oh, I have to turn game mode back on, right? That's better. Can't make it loop. It's so annoying. Fix frame timing. Playback options. There's no loop. Really? Whatever. I guess it's a sequencer. That'll work for me, I think. Teach people how to sit with proper posture, eh? Alright, so let's save that. The control rig is saved. Need to grab a bite real quick, I'll be right back. Well, look at that, a banana was just right there, waiting to be eaten. I don't know why it's saving the main map. I didn't touch the main map. It takes a while to save. But for some reason when you do this, it modifies the main map. Really weird. Even though I'm in the menu map right now. Oh, hey, thanks. I didn't see those messages. I don't know how. Alright, so we will export. Change the mannequin. I like going in between these two particular ones. Seems to work the best. Sit in chair. What? Oh. Gotta be careful with that. Alright. See? I have to change it again right away. So since this is a new one, I only have to delete the mannequin one, and I can move this right into my folder. And go to the animation state, the character first. Or should I start with the chair first? Let me build the functionality first, then I'll do the item. So we'll need a variable. We'll call it sit in chair. It's Boolean. These are like almost like events, Boolean somehow. Right? Turning it on and off is an event, so I'm starting to name them rather than isn't sitting in chair. It's just sit in chair, fires, and turns off. So I mean, has to replicate. I don't think I have to compile to use it yet. So let's do here. All right, subscriber. Thanks, creepy OG. All right, get sit in chair. There it is. All right, custom event called sit in chair, server sit in chair. Run on server, reliable. Hit B, hold B and left click, I should say. It'll make a branch. So if you're sitting in chair currently, okay, let's do, we'll need the actor for that stuff. It's gonna be the same logic there, more or less. Maybe I should make this a move to thing functionality. That's unique here, but this stuff, this could be an actor. Arrow. Privat Yaruski. Hi. Cocktail. That's all I know how to say. I'm not sure if I want to make it a function because it's going to. We should make it world location. An actor. So I'll functionalize all of this. Face. Scene component. Don't need that necessarily. I'll have it plug into the thing. And then, wait, no. Destroy actor and possess. Oof. Because that's why I didn't want to functionalize this. Because that's happening right in the middle of it. Or I could say make this start. No, because then this one, yeah, I can't really. I'm gonna have to repeat that. Normal, no? It means the same as usual. Normal. Normal. I'm feeling normal. Sorry. Alright, so let's just do that for now. Be back a second. You to me, Honamayash, Honamayu, Honamayu. We, Honamayash. I recognize the word, but I don't remember what it means. We talk? We're talking? You're talking to me? You talking to me? Not firing? Oh. That's why it wasn't working for Gamerflame. There you go. Be right back still. Hey, alright, lots of people here watching nothing happen. You want to see that real quick? Naked dude sitting in a chair. Not the most realistic with the hands, but whatever. Getting dizzy just watching that. Let's look at the blueprint. Oh, but you know what? Like, I need to just sit for a minute. Schmickaber. Let's see the status.
Is Monday, July 2nd, 2018 at 8:40 a.m. The channel has 589 subscribers.
Ooh.
WR Productions has
I've been streaming for an hour. I've just been literally standing on my feet for an hour. I need to sit down for a few minutes.
Running for 1 hour, 1 minute now.
It's kind of funny. You just lose track of time when you're making animations. Should I just leave that on loop, or will that get disorienting? I'll leave this open. I'll be right back. I'm still taking a break, just saying hi. Just saying hi. Bye. When I come back though, I'm gonna do all of the functionality for sitting in chairs. So animation blueprint, the interactable, put it in the world and test it out. Hey, I'm back. Everybody left. All right. Just kidding. So let's take from idle, make a new state. I forgot to make the sitting state, but we'll just do it here. Add state. Sitting and share. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna delete these. We're gonna do it on the sitting. No, because this is different. We don't want this connect those. I'm gonna keep them. And share. Sitting down to share. Sit down, sitting, sit. Let's call this sit down to chair. I can put spaces in these, by the way. It doesn't automatically do them like some things do. And yeah, we'll want get up from chair. And we'll create transition there. Let's put these maybe like over here, kind of out of the way. Near crouching, that kind of makes sense. All right. We can at least play share here. We can say this is, we'll have to get it from here. We need another variable on here for getting up from share. Or we can just use getting up. Yeah, no reason I can't. It should be reset every time you use it. So promote this to variable. Sit in share. Plug it in there. Alright. I can just grab this, drop it on there. So sit in share, and then get up from share should be animation state relevant anim time. So actually this is going to be the same animation in reverse. So for that you just can grab it here, up here at the upper right. It says play rate. Can be negative, which will cause the animation to play in reverse. Tooltips, man, you gotta look at the tooltips. So let's make the sitting in chair animation too. But anyway, let's here. So for this transition, get relevant anim time remaining. If it's less than or equal to 0.2, because that's the duration of the transition, we will enter transition. This one's going to be getting up. So actually on here, we're going to want this to be set getting up, turn off sit in chair, and turn off getting up. And that could just be after a short delay. Compiled, oops. Have it. Back a second. Still going. Okay, this should be relevant end time remaining less than or equal to 0.2. Compile and save this a lot faster. I think I just need the sitting animation at this point, and then to program the moving into the chair as well. Okay, but let's do that. Make a copy, sitting in chair, control rig. Delete all the other keyframes. Okay, export this. Convert and retarget. And then delete. Fix up redirectors. And move this in. Do a quick save all. Saving the main map as per usual. Okay. Animation blueprint. We also want to go from here to here on getting up. We don't just want sitting in chair though, we're going to want layered blend. Bone from here, from the idle. Hey, good morning, man. Don't eat. Just kidding. So we can check that out. Now we should be able to do sit in chair. Oh wait, no, I don't want stand up, I want just getting up. Look pretty good there. So on the blueprint, first of all, we're going to want to make that actor. So let's do that. We could just duplicate the bed and just change its mesh probably. But you could pick up a chair though. So we'll give it a hand model. Add interactable. Duplicate chair. Rectable. most of these things are buildable, but there are, I guess, well, there's some things that you can't really pick up. Oh, I don't decide about that. I made it so you can pick up shutters, take them off the wall and stuff. There's a lot of work to be done on that, but for now, I will make a hand model as well. World model? What? Hand model. Okay, yeah. There we go. Duplicate. Is it duplicate? Yeah. I believe so. Oh, parent class is hand model. So it's going to be create child. Alright, there we go. This one will be chair hand. So you can pick up the chair. I can drop it in furniture. Let's make it not a hammer, but our lovely chair. We have folding chair, tall chair, throne chair, triangle chair, basic chair, and the furniture desk chair from the apothecary, which I'm using. Right, and I want it to be, how would you, I feel like you should hold it, it should be two-handed. That is handled in the main model, but this is just for how it appears, so it's going to be, this is upside down to how it would appear in game, so I want you to hold it like by this side, with this being the top. This is where your hand would go here, so move it like that. Actually, it makes more sense by the way they hold two-handed items, because it's not like your typical chair. Like, it would be hand above hand. That doesn't really make any sense for two-handed. Let's see how that looks. Don't have any variables on here. Let's see, chair interactable. Event interact. I'm not going to do sleep in bed. We're going to do service in chair. Okay, yeah. Okay, so in here, yeah, we're gonna have to add actor. We'll just call it chair. Maybe I can make other chairs like children of this chair, essentially. I'll see how that works out. It'll be like a parent class. Alright, so this is going to go out there. And we're going to want an arrow on it. Okay, let's change this. Let's change all the details here. Wait, I didn't look at that part actually. The hand. I didn't click on. Default. Okay, active color. Okay, that's not a big deal. Alright, interactable. Has intensity gradients. World item is hidden two-handed. Yes. Color, world save, usable, size, weight. Make it pick upable by default. It's not even that heavy. It's like whatever. could make it stack. Theoretically. A desk chair, interactable, yes. Okay. And hand model chair. And skeletal mesh, no. Equipment slot, no. Static mesh, no. Equipment, no. Standard, no. Okay, there we go. What? I have to compile here, probably. Be back a sec. That works now. Okay, cool. Be right back, sorry. Might have to add an arrow. Oh, it has an arrow on it. Okay, so let's just see where that is. So there we go, minus 50 there. think it's just gonna be like that. Oops. Did I not copy it yet? Yeah, okay. Which might be fine, actually. Sorry. Sorry for the noise. Oh, get controller, right, okay. So this is basically spawning the AI controller. This is what I thought we need. Switch up there. Oops. This just turns towards it. That should be it. I got one more thing to do actually. I have to make it so you can't move or anything if you're sitting in a chair, and that jump will take you out of it. Well, jump will already take you out of it, but I have to make it so you can't move. I might as well just do a save here as well. But the idea is you're setting a reference to the controller before you dispossess with and possess with the controller, because we're on the pawn right now, so that when you come back around and you're done, you reach out to that reference on the pawn of the old controller. Oh, I didn't even need the reference apparently. Huh. I could get rid of this. It might be useful to use for other people to say like, oh, it's controlled by a pawn. Well, I want to get their controller, so it'll still exist. It'll live there, as they say. buggers. Apologize. I'll do that save. Alright, disabling the movements, easy enough. That's on the controller. Here we go. I should make it sitting in chair. Hey, what's up? Hi, Trevor. Well, did I meet you at that academy thing? You the guy I was talking Die by the Sword with? No, probably not, but name sounds familiar. I was just thinking about that guy the other day. What a cool game Die by the Sword was. In Die by the Sword, you use the keypad, the number pad on the right, to control the direction of the swing of your sword. So if you pressed 9, while holding 9 you pressed 1, it would go like an upper right to lower left swing. And all over the direction pad you could do that. It just controlled, holding a number would control where the swing went to. It's hard to explain. I don't know how they programmed that, right? It's crazy. Well, it says successful, but there's a question mark here. Well, I guess I haven't done anything. I've just been sitting here waiting for some reason. I thought I was waiting, but I wasn't. Let's do the other ones then. So that is for right mouse button. Yeah, I guess the other one's just the other one's just on the controller. I have a weird bypass going through, so I can do multiple different things from the input. So the controller kind of manages what the input does. Yes, definitely. Yeah. I know it takes forever to compile these things. I thought I got it better recently. Let's see. So on the event graph of the controller, way over here, yeah. Oh, it's down here. And Control W. Thank you. How did you hear about it? Just from YouTube or on the Reddit post? Or I mean, it's not a very popular Reddit post. I got like 30 upvotes on it, and a niche community. Alright, we're sitting in chair there, and then the jump. Oh, I need to do jump too. Please tell me jump is on here. No, I believe jump is on the pawn as well. Arg. Maybe having the mannequin in the map makes this take forever. There's a character in the map, so that might be why it's, I don't know. So this doesn't happen when you don't have I don't have the main map open usually. Alright, so one more little fixaroo before we test it out. Jump needs to cancel it. Make sure if sitting down or sitting in a chair, we want to stand up. And if standing up, sitting down, stand from chair. Oh, I already have that. Let's just fire the where did I put it? Down here. Server sit and share has its swap thing already. I could just reference with a little pass through to that. Everything organized differently in my game, but it works. So stand from sitting instead of that. Here, stand from sitting. Sit down, sleeping. No. Get chair, sitting in chair, branch. If this, then sit in chair. And this way I can fire this event in any other number of ways if I need to on its own. Here I'm just flying through it, even though I have to do a check again for it. If I need to say sit in chair, like maybe you get knocked over, I don't have to go hunting down. I can just say, oh, do that one, and it'll clear everything for it. That should take care of everything. Let's test it out. We'll have to place a chair in the map, which will take us forever and a day, but not really. It just feels that way. Huzzah! The day is won. Hit this ball real quick, be right back. Okay. Always gotta save. Just always gotta text your people. Just 1 second. Alright. I think we can just, okay, we gotta put it in the map. Are we at the house? Alright, we can just go in here. Check out the room. I've played with it a bit. Let's try to put some of these in here. Now I would like to make it so you can move it back first. So I might make a separate animation for move the chair back, then sit down, and then maybe scoot forward. Maybe I could do something like that. For now, let's see what happens in various situations. Let's make one where it's totally under the table, and one where it's like off to the side. Maybe like, well, let's get rid of this guy. I'll put this over here. So here's our two test chairs for now. Doesn't really matter if I save it. All I did was place them down. That takes forever. So let's just test this out. One player. Theoretically, it should work. Oops, on the multiplayer tests as well. Just scared all the birds in the backyard by bumping into a chair that's pressed up against the door. Poor nature. I apologize. Anyway. Am I at the house thingy here? I am. We can go inside and check it out. I do feel like this is a good like crossroads feeling vibe here because we're right on this plateau overlooking everything. Waiting for that grass to pop in is always better. Alright, so I can use my left hand here. Oops. Turn the torch on. That's good. I want that torch on. Alright. Let's try to interact with it. Oh, that's not even going to work with the other guy. So, right, okay. I can cancel that too. Here, check this out too. I'm using AI, but I can cancel it by hitting up, down, left, or right. So I am unpossessed. That's why the camera stays here. Because technically the controller, I'm not in control of the pawn right now. The AI is running it. But if I press up, down, left, or right, I repossess. I put a switch there to say, like, if you currently have no possessed pawn, if your possessed pawn is invalid, then repossess your previously possessed pawn. That's what I was using it for. So I am using that variable. Good thing I didn't delete it, right? Alright, so what I'm thinking is turn collision off for the dude when you do this. And I'll just walk into the table and sit down. For now. So, instead of that being at the end, we'll put it right here. Although I'm not sure if that means it's going to fall through the floor. Well, it doesn't seem to make it fall through the floor when you do it at the end. Let's try that again. Oh, okay. If I just X out, oh, am I still saved down there? I think it does. Yeah, my system's that good. Alright. I need to reprogram my spawn point thing here. In the meantime, enjoy this countryside drive. Brought to you by the horse. And the grass like that, it's just loading the first time in. Once you got it, then it doesn't, there you go. It doesn't pop in like that after the first load. It fades nicely. So as you can see, it's not rendered in out there to save processing or whatever. Rendering, there's the house up there. Maybe I should make lamps like a wearable item, so you don't have to carry a torch all the time, and you can just attach it to your hip. And I can make hip pouches. It'll just be a small backpack. You can carry a mug on your hip. So you see the door is still lit. I mean, the door is still open and the torch is still lit from the last time I was here. Let's try this chair. Uh-oh. Still not, I mean, before it was getting there. Just, I guess, turning off the collision. Let's just save and quit here. There we go, okay. Let's change that. Back to the end. This is just a save frame rate here. We're gonna want to Okay. How to make it so that you can, I guess we're gonna have to make it so you can go to the side of the chair, move the chair back, and then do the chair thing. Let's just put a chair out in the open area so we see that the whole thing works in general. And then I think I do want to make it so you move the chair, and it's just another process, one animation to make. It's just going to be move chair, and then you just go right back to standing up, and then you go to sit down. And then I guess just do that thing with the feet and like an upper body like shift, and just it'll scoot back into position. That would be pretty cool if I can pull that off. Oh, I forgot to. Alright, but as you see, it's at least trying. Okay. I don't have to save anything to do this, I just need to move the chair out. And let's just test it again. See if it works just with a basic chair. Really? The chair's still. Oh, it's getting saved. Bugger. Let's just make a new one then. See what happens if I just make a new one and I play. Should just be there. It'll just get saved as a new item at the end. Yeah, okay. Alright, there we go. The other one was getting its location saved as an item. There we go. Alrighty. I'm not in the right place. I gotta move the... make the thing. Just like the sleeping animation. We need to make the sitting in chair, enable root motion, anim first frame, force root lock. Fucker. At least I saved everything. By having the like blueprint open, did some weird thing, I don't know. At least we saw that it worked. I didn't try getting up. It didn't work completely, technically. Just had to check those boxes, so I guess we didn't technically see the full thing yet. It's saved correctly. I will right click on the main map for quick loading. I think that's the thing, when you do this right click on the map for quick loading, then the compiling takes forever. But if you right click on the map for loading, then the playing doesn't take forever. So it's like a back and forth thing. I don't know how to disable it though. I'm thinking maybe if I right click on another map, it'll like load that map instead. Perhaps, like, it wouldn't just load that. So let's do a quick test here, just for future working practices. Okay, let's see what happens if I right click here now. And right click here again. No, it's still loaded. It's still loaded. So, whatever, I guess. I just want to see if it works. Let's check it out. Oh, I didn't save it. Alright, the map. I gotta load up the map and throw those in there. That's possibly why memory crashed, because it had a whole map edited and not saved. Should probably be sure to just save the map whenever it's like that. That might be what, you know, because it's a big map with lots of stuff, and if you have it in recent memory because it's not saved, when you save something, it's probably gonna crash. It clears the, yeah, that's what happens when you save something. It clears the undo list. So I probably had a, you know. Shit is lit. Sorry. Bloop. Bloop. Alright, let's just check that out. Save it. Even though it takes forever. So we saw this great video. I'm wondering if maybe I should just put it on in the background, actually, because that wouldn't be a terrible sound. So I'm just gonna go my history here. Yep, there's the Antword. Yep, there's that thing. It's watching Reddit, okay? And watch all the Boss Keys videos. And there, this one. Great little interview.
Can you hear me?
So
No one's answering.
it's a human
delay.
Make sure you can hear that shit.
Yeah, somebody said yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Can you guys hear Raph? Sexy Raph is what they're calling you now. Can you guys hear Raph?
That was that.
You can hear everybody.
Way,
okay, perfect. There we go. I did it. Yes.
Oops.
All right.
Good job, Shane.
Yeah. You know, I'm not just another pretty face like Raph. So, here we've this is Raph Coster at the bottom left. The wave. You know, you guys know Epi. He's in the middle there, in the New York hat. And then you got Joe B at the top left. You got me at the top right. You got Pat middle right, and Faye at the bottom right. So some of our faces are a little more familiar. Raph is not Lord Blackthorn, by the way. That's Starlock. I'm reading this as we go. So basically, what we're gonna do here.
On the chair.
Raph is he's gonna do some jousting. This whole jousting event will start here in the Knights Guild. You guys all know about them in UO Forever here. They're gonna be running their jousting event here as we're taking questions and everything, and then we're gonna get Raph to do some jousting. So if you wanna joust against Raph, you can PM the PM Sir in Discord there, and he can probably throw you in, hopefully. Unless there's a ton of people.
Someone's drunk over here.
And I've never done it before, so you have excellent odds of winning.
The whole roll of the dice odds.
I beefed up
for the project to finish compiling.
So with that, if you guys have questions
There it is.
you have for him, I think there's gonna be a while here. Like
This guy is
Ralph
like one of the
has been
main
in this. We've
developers
been in
of
this Zoom
UO.
meeting here for what, hour and a half or something. And he's been showing us stuff, and we're like, wait. I'm like, wait. And,
Yeah, save
it for everybody, because he has some just unreal relics and some stuff in his house there
I
from
turned
the
collision
original
off
like
on it.
UO map,
Damn it.
all like the cloth map, all sorts of stuff. Some really stuff that nobody else has really, and I'm not sure if you guys know, but he has a lot more to do with UO
Try it
than,
again, just more carefully.
you know, a lot of other people out there. Like he was just telling us he actually handcrafted Trinsic, the city, by tile. Like he did it all himself, and then he
Nope.
you know, so not only was he a developer,
Interesting.
but he also had a creative, you know, not only did he write code, but he had a creative side, or has a creative side to him too, which is awesome.
Oh, probably because of the scale.
Did Faye send you those questions there of everybody?
Yep.
Okay. Your camera's frozen. I don't know why. Nice Tentry hat, by the way.
Thanks.
You guys can hear, if everybody says hello really quick, I just want to make sure everybody can hear you on stream. So Joe B, you can say hi.
Hi.
And Epi.
Hey guys.
Right about
Raph,
the rotation.
Hi.
and Faye.
Hey.
And Pat.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody can hear you. Okay. So I think we'll just we'll take some questions right now, and the Sir Guild, if you guys want to get on just starting your jousting right now, and that can happen as we watch that. And if you guys
Guessing
have
if I just start with a
questions
human,
in,
maybe
sorry,
the
my
human
dog's
size be
on
different.
my lap here. He thinks I'm talking to him. If you guys have any questions for Raph as we're doing all this, feel free to ask him on Twitch or in Discord to any of the staff. So, or page in with it. Sound good?
I see a question about fenders.
Yeah.
Those aren't fenders, those are Gibsons.
Yeah, they're Gibsons.
And actually, those are inheritances from my father-in-law, and they are actually vintage 1961 Gibsons.
Wow.
So they're old. However, the banjo next to them is actually 125 years old, so it's even older.
Yeah, that's a relic.
Completely still playable though.
Prove it.
Yeah. An
Come
hour
on.
log of Raph. Ding, 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 ding.
You really want to lead the stream with guitar playing?
125-year-old banjo playing, maybe.
Yeah. Let's rock this joint.
Now, there's a UO question. That's a good one. Should I answer questions out of Twitch chat?
If you want to, I'm sure there's going to be some stuff said in there that isn't exactly awesome, but we got some people moderating it, so go ahead and answer.
I'll answer the quickie one for the UO Forever theme song. No, I have no idea what that is. I used to be able to play Stones. You could hear it on the radio at the beginning of Ultima 9, but I haven't played it in years. The favorite contribution to UO. Here's the thing. I don't think people know how much of UO I made, so it's very hard to pick. My wife Kristen and I were the original designers on UO, and we did everything related to the crafting is something that we brought to the game. Everything related to the pets, everything related to the game economy, except for the player vendors edition, that was somebody else. But all of the crafting related stuff, all of the economy, Kristen did the original balancing for every single one of the numbers, for every monster and everything else, all the damage numbers. We didn't do the spells, but we did do most of the skills. I personally wrote most of the bardic stuff. Every time you take out a bladed item and you chop a tree or cut a hide, I wrote that script. When wisps talk or orcs go oog, ag, ag, I did that. And if you found the book in the game that gave you the syllabary for the orcish language, I wrote all of those books. I wrote nearly all of the books, actually. The you know, here in the stream, just from imagery that I see on the screen, those cute little red flowers and the candles that are sitting on the table, I drew those. I drew that potted tree that's in the back there next to the fellow in the orange robe. Yeah, you, the one who just said, wow, that's right. Well, now there's a what is that, a wyvern standing on you? Yeah, so pretty much actually almost all of the little flowers and just about all the jungle flora, except for the big giant trees, was me. Every time you go up a set of stairs or walk under an arch, that was me. Because I did all of the technical design for the arches and for the stairs. The technical artist wasn't quite sure how to make them work. We didn't expect
how they do
people
this
to be
live
riding
stream in
horses
front of
and
an
ostriches
audience
up
of people
them, though,
in
like you're doing
game.
down in the
Like, how
corner
cool
there.
is that?
And I actually brought with me to the stream the original sketchbooks for all of that
I
stuff.
think that's even his
So you
character.
can actually see how they
or
were
something. One of them.
how they were
probably.
done, but we can get to that in a minute. So it's
You know,
really, really hard
he's
for me
giving
to
a
pick
speech.
a favorite thing. It might be pets. It might be being able to play an instrument at all. It might be player housing. Jason Spangler and I put player housing in over a weekend because Richard had ordered us not to. And he wanted us to do boats, and we said, but boats and houses are the same thing technically. So we did both of them. And Jason's first pass prototype was a flying carpet.
It's my favorite part. What's up, Flick?
So that might be one of the big ones. But yeah, I mean, I did an awful lot of UO. And I was credited for art. I was credited for design. I was also credited for programming, not because of
Nice.
all of the game scripts, but if you open your paper doll and you see it says your name and apprentice or dreadlord or whatever, I wrote the title system in the client code too. Client and server. So yeah,
I
lots.
wonder if that's what's happening. It's hitting
Hard for me to
these
pick a favorite.
collisions before it goes in there. So let's try.
So yeah, that question, now you've asked like 50 since I answered that one. I'll have to scroll back.
We had a submitted question, and it basically what you were saying
Complex
about your wife,
collision.
so it's kind of ties into that. So
Okay.
one question from our community.
Udemy
was,
classes. Oh boy.
I've heard you mention your wife
Well, what you
and
got?
how much
What do you
she
need?
did on UO as well during its development. Have you ever
I
considered
don't
going
know, like,
back to
shadows.
the humble roots of her work to reformulate a new game using today's technology?
Well, I have more than once.
Perfect.
Right? So the thing to understand is that she and I and the lead programmer of UO, Rick Dellerschmidt, who is,
Oh, the map load is going to take forever this time.
Let's see.
We'll just deal with it.
can you see that? I got to see if I can hold this in the right place here. So you see this photo. The guy in the middle is Rick Dellerschmidt. He wrote 80% of the Ultima Online client and server. The guy kind of under my fingers is Todd McKinney. He's out of the game industry now. But Todd was also a friend of ours. In fact, in this time period, he probably lived at our house still. Todd and Rick and my wife and I were all immortals on a text mud called Legend Mud. So UO has
comes
an
from muds.
enormous amount of Legend Mud in it. Like 4 of us on the original early team were from Legend Mud.
That was weird.
And Kristen and I,
Whatever that thing
Rick
was.
had been the original programmer of Legend Mud as well. And Chris and I, during the time that we were building UO, were actually the 2 people in charge of it. When we applied to
That's
work
not
at
right.
Origin, it was because Rick recommended us for the job. He had just landed the job a few months before and had begun building a prototype built off of Ultima 6 that was getting called Multima. This is the original sign from the prototype team. This hung in the hallway pointing the way to where we worked.
I love that.
And he recommended us in, and Todd came along a little bit later. So we were actually working on Legend and UO at the same time. Our job applications had in them design ideas that were the basis for the in-game
forgot to do the
ecology,
thing again.
the fact that UO has all of the crafting stuff and the AI and all of that stuff came from our job applications. We didn't even know when we walked in to the office, we asked, so what's the game we're going to make? And they said, it's going to be great. And they told us all about the stuff in our application. So we didn't know that the game was actually being based on what we made. Kristen worked on UO, but that was the last game that she did in the game industry. We had a couple of kids. She kept running Legend Mod until sometime in the early 2000s, actually. But the underlying ideas of player-driven economy, player governments, you know, all of those kinds of concepts ended up making it into Star Wars Galaxies. The idea of empowering players, I later did a platform called MetaPlace. That was very much a part of it. So yeah, she was my original design partner, and I still bounce ideas off of her all the time. So yeah, her influence is still there, even though she left the industry around 1998, somewhere around there.
That's great. Here's one here we got from Asherin. And what was one thing that you were unable to implement that you would like UO Forever to attempt to do so?
Well, I don't know if UO Forever has these features or not. So
We can tell you.
Yeah, let's see. Probably my biggest missed regret in UO was Townstones. This would have been the ability for players to go beyond guilds, found actual towns that then they could define the laws within the towns. So they could hold elections for mayor, decide whether or not it was PvP or safe area, set up the laws, set up their own spawn points, taverns, banks, and effectively run a whole town from scratch. And that never made it into UO. But we did put it in Galaxies.
And
it was a pretty popular feature, player cities in there.
That shouldn't be the
other
case.
Things, gosh, I mean, the underlying
Maybe
system
somehow I
to
didn't hit
UO,
a keyframe
there was a
on
point
there.
where we talked about having rust monsters. You know, all of your stuff that is made of metal was actually made of metal behind the scenes. And we talked about burning down forests, having rust monsters actually rust your stuff, having real weather.
See, this should be good.
Snow accumulation. There's even things that we had and had to take out, like NPC schedules. You know, we took those out really early on because players complained, why is it that the shops are all closed at night?
So I'm just not going to close the shops at night. That's the difference.
So yeah, there's just tons of stuff like that
you just go in and wake them
UO
up
was
and they're
meant to
like,
be a
"What the
fully
hell?"
simulated fantasy world, right? And most of the limitations were because at the time, a computer to run UO on had like a fraction of the power of what you got in your pocket for your cell phone, right? It probably has less power than your smartwatch, to be honest.
I wasn't turning the collision off on the chair working.
So there's a lot we just couldn't do.
Just didn't matter.
Awesome. This is a cool one. Was cow tipping your idea?
You know, I'm not sure. It was either me or Rick, maybe Scott Phillips, one of us. But yeah, I mean, we did a lot of little Easter eggs like that. There were still Vorpal bunnies running around because during the alpha, critters actually learned skills from using, just like players did. And bunnies leveled up to the point where they could take out wolves, which meant they could take out a lot of players too. And we actually then implemented them directly into the game later on, after we took out the ability for players to for monsters to learn. That's also why there were occasionally purple llamas that spawned instead of energy vortexes. Yeah, we put in a lot of Easter eggs like that.
Yeah,
cow tipping was
still have
definitely
that
one
here.
of those.
Yeah, I like the how stealable rares became a thing, where it was just regular statics, but you guys forgot to lock them down, and people took them.
Yeah,
really
that's
like
pretty
that
much
idea.
exactly what happened.
Yeah, I really like that.
So why does this work in
Yeah.
the bed one?
You know, the game had streaming bits and non-streaming bits, and the streaming parts were minimal on purpose. You know, it's everything in player houses and players and stuff dropped on the ground. And we had to limit how much of that there was. Walking around Britain would have been a DDoS attack otherwise on your poor connection, because we were designing for a 14.4 modem, right? If you're on a cable modem right now, you have something like 2,700 times the bandwidth that we had to work with for a 14.4 modem. And your ping time is probably at least 10 times faster, right? So just dropping too much stuff on the ground could knock you offline. So we couldn't stream Britain. We had to ship it on the CD. So as we were building, we had this toggle, which was things to stream, which were called dynamics, and things that we will put on the CD, which were called statics. And these are the things that live in the .mol file, right, when you install the game. And it was super, super easy to accidentally build an entire freaking city as dynamics, and then afterwards go, oh shit, have to demolish it all and rebuild it a tile at a time. So stuff would get missed. Sometimes it was a candelabra on a table, and sometimes it was a patch of water. And because all the behaviors were attached to the objects as long as they were dynamic, that meant that if you had a dynamic patch of water, you could fish out of it, even if it was in your backpack. So patches of water were the first popular rare item. People would grab them the minute the server booted up and steal them and put them in their backpacks so that they could fish out of them anywhere or fill the jugs of water for cooking or whatever. And then they started scavenging around for the rares. They'd get replaced when the server booted. So the minute the server booted, an army of people would go all over the server, going to all the known locations of dynamic spawns of things that weren't supposed to be dynamic. And people started selling them on eBay. And that was actually the birth of free-to-play and real money trade stuff, right? Because before that, nobody realized, oh, we could be selling this stuff directly for real money. And gradually, that's how it started. That's where gold farming came from. People realized they could make just more money off of farming gold than off of farming rares.
So is that like I know so Richard has talked about this, about like how you guys were kind of concerned about like money laundering through the game. Basically, do you want to elaborate more on that?
Back then, so you have to understand that a lot of the stuff about the internet wasn't settled yet. Under the law back then, the internet was equivalent to a phone line. So that meant, for example, that logging chat on the internet might fall under wiretapping law. It meant that transacting with virtual goods could technically mean that you were a bank and you would have to sign up as banking law, right? Sign up to be a financial institution. We just didn't know. And a lot of that stuff gradually developed over time. But yeah, there was a huge amount of concern around the legal liability for those things back then.
Yeah, I always found that really interesting. Okay, so I really like this question. This is from Weezart. In the early 2000s, most of the people from the video game, allowing players to kill other players and loot their stuff was ruining the game. But I remember you at a game developer conference in San Jose saying that you disagree with that statement. Is that still the case?
It's complicated. So just to do some context, right? The original sales forecasts for UO were like 15 to 35,000 units, lifetime. EA thought the game would shut down after 6 months. That's part of why they greenlit a UO2 frame. The beta test got like 50,000 people sending in money for the disc, right? First early access in history, as far as I know, where they needed, we needed to give them a disc, and we didn't even have the budget to make and ship the discs, right? So that right there was like 50,000. The game comes out, and it becomes the fastest selling game EA had ever had to date. and it sells hundreds of thousands of copies. But as we all know, it was incredibly janky. Lots of people couldn't connect. It was so bad, actually, that this happened. Right? This was a lawsuit by a former Legend Mud player who followed us from Legend Mud and started a class action lawsuit against EA. And he was a problem player over there too. So the game was really janky and players were getting player killed left and right. We lost hundreds of thousands of players to player killing.
I know what to do.
In the first year. Like, UO at the time broke 100,000 subscribers pretty quickly. When EverQuest came out, EverQuest eventually got several 100,000, like 275K or something, in 99, and was bigger than UO. If UO had not had player killing, it would have been bigger than EverQuest by a bunch at that point. We lost a lot of players to player killing. On the other hand, in the process of trying to take player killing out, we did probably 7 systems to try to reduce player killing: notoriety, murder counts, ping pong counts, order chaos shields and virtue guards, the young system. I could go on and on, right? But of course, the final result was Trammel. And
this is Trammel
killed a lot of what made UO special. And EverQuest and player killing switches, basically being able to opt out of PK altogether, also killed a lot of what made UO special. So we were trying to thread a needle, right? We were trying to make a game that had the freedom,
because I haven't right-clicked,
but didn't just gank everybody. And it came down to a choice between freedom and everybody getting ganked. And what happened, Trammel, and in fact all the later games for quite a while, not until EVE Online, they all made the choice to provide player safety instead of freedom. To this day, when you ask people what their favorite memories are of UO, they might lead with Lord British getting player killed. They'll tell stories about thievery, stories about murders, stories about house break-ins. They tell stories that were actually horrible for the victims at the time. But those are the memories that people have. That's the things people remember and love about UO. And so it's a trade-off that I wish we hadn't made. I've been revisiting a lot of this lately because, you know, the choice was basically between having a civil environment and having an environment with freedoms in it. And the goal was, we thought of ourselves as being at the forefront of the internet, not just games, right? At the time, virtual worlds were going to be the way the internet developed, you know, Ready Player One, Snow Crash, whatever, right? And so we explicitly thought ourselves as solving a real problem, right? Something that over time needed to be dealt with. How do we have an internet with freedom and with civility? And my worry is that we not only didn't solve it, but games gave up on trying to solve it. And today we have an internet that doesn't have freedom or civility. You know, you look at Twitter, and if you're running something like a PK switch, that means you're signing up to moderate. And instead, what we have is an unmoderated internet where everybody ganks, right? So to speak. It's full of different kinds of harassment. It's full of different kinds of bad behavior. So, yeah, I wish we had managed to solve it another way. But the minute Trammel went in, over the next 6 months, the population of UO doubled. So was player killing a problem? Hell yeah. A massive one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have that exact challenge. And again, like you said, it's what makes UO, and it's really hard to go that far right. like you said with Trammel.
Yeah, that's actually how I discovered myself why you guys introduced Trammel.
No, I
I
can't
knew
really.
right then. I was like, wow, I guarantee you back in the day they were losing subs left, right, and center. And they're like, wow, how can we fix this?
Concentrating on
Because we have the same
this.
issue. I look at the numbers. I'm the market guy. I get people here.
It sounds like very,
and
very
I look at the
elementary
people
stuff. You
going
should check
out
out
the back
Matthew
door because
Watstein's
they get
videos.
PK, grief, stuff like that. And it's like, well, you know, it just right away clicked, and I was like,
He is
yeah,
moving, but it's
that's
just
why they did Trammel.
he's not getting
just
there.
so everybody knows watching, we're not going to
Even though I could.
Okay.
Well, one
s-
thing,
sorry, go
one
ahead.
thing about that is that today the audience is way larger too, right? And the result of that is you're not trying to squeeze all the playstyles into one game. And back then we had to find ways to have different playstyles coexist. And we thought it was super important to have different playstyles coexist. Now you can have a Fortnite and a PUBG for the player killers, or an Eve for the player killers, right alongside a Second Life for the builder creator types, and the UOs and the EverQuests and the World of Warcrafts and so on, and people can go find the game that suits them. But it used to be that you tried to design for all of those kinds of players to be in one game, because otherwise your game couldn't afford to run. You wouldn't have enough players to pay for operation.
Do games still have that like minimum requirement thing on the box?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they still do.
sure.
What the fuck? Do you even play games?
Okay, so actually this kind of works well with
It's
what
like
you were
people
just
don't buy the
discussing.
boxes anymore.
So this is a question from Sir. What do you feel are the most important aspects of an MMORPG experience?
I've always defined MMOs as be someone you can't be, someplace that you can't go with other people. That to me is the heart of what a virtual world is about. And there's a lot of ways to do that, right? But to me, the heart of the MMOs is offering that you can't really quite do in the real world, doing it with other people and doing it, a place you couldn't possibly be, often not as yourself, right? From the very beginning of MUDs, the text-based predecessors to virtual worlds, things like, playing people who aren't anything like you, including cross-gender roleplay and stuff like that, was going on from the very, very beginning. And actually, the original designer of MUD put that kind of thing in on purpose. Even though back then you showed your real name next to your character, he made a point of doing things like playing characters that weren't what he was like in real life in order to get across to people, hey, this gives you complete freedom to explore what someone can be. And so to me, that's still at the heart of the whole thing, right? In my personal case, I really value building online communities, right? I really value that aspect of it. But there's lots of ways in which you can do that. Sometimes it can be immersive, sometimes not. I don't care that much. I'm a big fan of all kinds of virtual worlds.
So you touched a little bit on this earlier, but this is a question from Decoy. From a technical standpoint, what was the most challenging aspect to Ultima Online in implementing it? I imagine, like you said, the modem thing, right? The bandwidth
that's
thing.
one example.
Yeah.
Collision on it.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look back now and realize how insane UO is.
Mazer.
From a technical point of view, right? There were virtual worlds, MMOs going on with peak numbers from 150 to 250 in one world.
Oh, yo, I
UO
wonder if it's
did
because of
2,500
the
to
stairs in the map itself.
that meant we had to solve
Let's try
something. We had to basically
Hold on.
build computing
I'm going
clusters.
to move the chair myself.
That was
in-game.
not really a thing. What we call cloud computing was not a thing. Our
I bet it's because of
networking
the
budget
stairs.
was
I'm such a
minuscule.
moron.
We had to hand tune packets, network packets,
Bloop.
down to the byte. And we had a budget of 400 bytes per second. That literally, if you go in today to a limited population thing, like a modern FPS,
right, let's see.
they will blow that budget by like a factor of 10 to
Interesting.
100 and not think anything of it.
What's up with that?
There are more objects on screen right now than there are in an entire Battlefield match today, right? Easily. That are streamed down and dynamic.
No.
And that kind of thing, you know, the sheer volume of what we were trying to do in terms of streaming was new and had never been done. The term database sharding comes because Mundane broke the gem of immortality into crystal shards. And today, when DBAs talk about sharding a database, they use that word because of the fiction that we wrote.
I think it might be
The running shards on different continents. We were one of the first large-scale uses of VPN in history. We couldn't ship binaries out to servers because the servers were running different operating systems. We had some of them that were running Linux, some of them that were running Solaris, and so on. We developed on Linux in the office. So we actually shipped the source code out to the different machines via FTP in an automated process over VPN and compiled the servers remotely at each of the server locations, at each of the different shard locations. So we had to pioneer an enormous amount of networking technology. I remember when they came to install the first T1s and T3s and had to rip up the road outside the office because until then, that wasn't something that you ran to an office building. So, yeah, I mean,
go back to its
I
right
think
place, 'cause I know that's not
we
the
didn't
problem.
realize how much of a moon shoot we were engaged in. Because most of us, you know, we had Michael Priest, he was already, to our mind, old. You know, Richard was our executive producer, but everybody else on the team, I think the average age was 23. The youngest people on the team had just finished high school and were 17 and 18 years old. I was 23 or 24 when I became creative lead of UO. So, yeah, we were a bunch of young punk kids who had no idea that we were proposing to do the impossible. So we did it.
Looks like it might be that one.
Yeah, I love that. One quick question. I saw it in Twitch
Can
chat.
characters step up?
What language
Ooh.
was it coded in?
Mostly vanilla C. There was a little bit of C++ scattered around, but it was almost all in plain old C. Most of the programmers at Origin used Visual Studio and used,
I don't know if that's going to be it.
well, Visual Studio and C, but they were Windows programmers, right? And that wasn't the case for all of us who came over from MUDs. So on like my second day of work, there were a bunch of guys who'd done the prototype stuff on the Ultima 6 engine with Rick, Ken Demarest, Jim Greer. Jim went on, by the way, to found Congregate. But Jim and I overlapped for like all of a week at Origin. He quit like right after we all got there. And he sits down at the PC to show me where the paths are to various things. So we sit down at the DOS prompt and start navigating around. And I start typing and he stops me and points at my forward slashes as I'm typing the paths. And he goes, "That's backslash Unix, boy." Because I was used to working in Unix. On the text MUDs, we did everything in Unix. And virtually all of our programming, including on UO, was done in VI. And our compiling was mostly done with command line GCC. All of us ran UO servers
I'm sure
on
they're gonna
Linux at our desktop.
Overlap
We
World
all had
Dynamic
2
instead of
computers at
block.
our desk and 2 monitors, one
Not
for the
sure
server
repercussions
machine,
of that might
so
be,
we could
but
run a
we'll see
private server
if it fixes
for
this
building,
issue.
and one for the Windows client. So yeah, Vanilla C mostly developed in Unix. For the game code, the server was written in C. The game logic, anything that wasn't speed dependent, meaning things that weren't the combat system, pathfinding, core AI, chatting, that kind of stuff, was written in the internal scripting language called Wombat. And Wombat basically looked like C. There were, I forget exactly, about 100,000 lines of code in the server and the client in C, 100 to 200,000 lines of code there. And Wombat,
I'm not even
there were
turning off
another
its collision
200
here,
to
am I?
500,000 lines of Wombat code. So every interactive object, every most of the spells,
That
most
wasn't
of the
it.
skills, all of the
See
crafting,
something.
you know, the pet system, harvesting fruit from trees, you name it. All of that stuff was written in Wombat.
Alright, so I can move through it myself right here.
Oh, and databases. We used flat text files
Yeah.
for
Interesting.
player files and for sourcing the creature stats, because actual databases were too slow at the time. So flat text files was the way to do it.
I think there's still aspects of the game that we use that are text-based because of the, like you said, the speed.
Yep.
What inspired you to get into the game development business? Were you influenced by any earlier games and something just clicked one day? Were there any pressure in the business to try to push out new concepts to compete with EverQuest? And that's a question from Zarzak.
That's 2 separate questions. I started developing
Doesn't look like
games
he's
when
at the
I
right
was
point there either.
13 or so. Inspired in part by the games that I was playing, which included things like Ultima 3. I'd heard the story of Richard
problem is
selling
that-
his games like a Calabath in Ziploc baggies. So when I was 13 or 14, I actually did sell video games to my classmates in Ziploc baggies. But I didn't think I would end up in the game industry. You know, I used to do board games until I learned how to program. So I started probably doing tabletop games when I was, oh,
Yeah, the
I don't
control
know,
rig.
10 or 11. And kind of never stopped. And then fell out of it when Windows and whatnot came along. You know, when the Mac came along, I stopped doing programming because all of the
So I think this is
the
more about my
GUI
AI
stuff
movement
really
rather
got
than
in the
the
way of
animation
just
now.
plain old doing program, right? It added all of this stuff you had to go learn. So
He doesn't like
we
GUI,
ended up
GUI. Graphical user interface.
not doing games. I
Yes.
just stopped until text muds, and that's what got me back into game programming. So I got back into it around 1992, 93. And then, yeah, text muds is how I got back into it. What was the second half of the question again?
Oh yeah, was there any pressure in the business to try and push out new content to compete with EverQuest?
Sure. I mean, EverQuest, in particular, stuff like stuff against PvP, adding more of an item-driven game. I think that was in response to pressure from EverQuest and WoW. The original philosophy from UO is not at all item-driven. But
still
you know, you
navigating
play the
around
modern
that.
UO game, and in terms of those mechanics, I don't even recognize them. Right? It's just not an item or equipment driven game original. Gear was totally disposable. So yeah, those things.
There you go. That's what problem
Increased
is.
emphasis on classes, right? You know, even the way you start up in UO Forever, you choose from prepackaged,
Why is this guy?
not classes, but prepackaged templates, right? And that was actually a system I designed for Second Age.
This is my problem.
And it was because we found too many newbies too confused when they came in. It was too directionless, having 40 plus skills to choose from. So there were a lot of things that we were doing to try to, you know, get intro experience more navigable for a newbie. And, you know, UO2, of course, went 3D.
So it's not this.
There were some, you know, there was talk about could we take UO 3D. There wasn't a ton of expertise inside of Origin to do 3D, as is evidenced by Ultima 9. Sorry, guys. Which to this day doesn't work well in 3D, even on a modern video card. So there wasn't enough experience in the company to really know how to do it. A few years later, there were a few, you know, there were a few efforts by fans to make 3D clients, but it never really totally panned out, I think, which is too bad. There's still some stuff by players who've written custom clients where you could fly around UO in 3D, and it's pretty awesome. So,
how often did EverQuest come up in like day-to-day operations? Like I know like nowadays you look at like PUBG and how many copycat games are coming off of that, and I mean PUBG was even a copycat game and that blew up. Like it was before like H1Z1 was there. Like how often did it come up? Like, and did you guys like not necessarily I want to say copy their material, but maybe borrow it?
Oh, it didn't really work that way. So you had management, and then you had people on the team. Management watched EverQuest and said, oh no, it's going to be 3D. Oh no, it's first person. Wow, this is awesome and immersive. But wow, they're getting married to this brand new Glide API with this brand new video card company called 3DFX that we don't know if that will succeed or not. And they're making it hardware only. That's insanely risky, right? I mean, you have to realize they caught a wave, the Variant guys, because it was before Sony, they caught the wave and decided to get married to the hardware accelerated 3D gaming. And they were one of the first games to make that choice. That's why something like Ultima 9 didn't work. It was mostly software rendered. So management was looking at it that way. The team was hanging out on a mailing list called MudDev. The MudDev mailing list had been running since 1994 and had on it the developers who created The Realm, Tibia, Dark Ages, Lineage, Meridian 59, Ultima Online, EverQuest, Ashram's Call, and we all told each other all of our ideas all the time, and we're completely open about everything that we were doing. And you can still find the archives of the MudDev mailing list out there. I host a mirror of them on my website. There are mirrors of them several other places. We would get together at GDC, hold dinners, swap ideas. We ran our own conference parallel to GDC. We'd meet at Il4Naio and at Teske's Germania in San Jose. We would hire each other, and we were all friends. So it wasn't so much that, oh, are we copying ideas or anything like that. Shit, we were in each other's alphas. We were all friends. It was not the same. It was not like how people think of it today with like, oh, let's clone. That's not how it worked. It was a very, very different environment. And there were, you know, not that many people making massively multiplayer games. All of us started making them all around the same time. Pretty much all of those games I just mentioned were launched as projects between 94 and 96. They just finished after different amounts of time. So EverQuest started around the same time UO did. Lineage started around the same time UO did. The guys who founded Meridian 59 logged onto Legend Mud and offered me a job. And I said, I can't. I just took a job with Origin. But tell you what, there's this guy named Damien Schubert. And Damien went and worked at Meridian 59. And of course, Damien went on to work on Shadowbane and Star Wars: The Old
there it
Republic.
is.
And the guy who'd logged on to offer the job was Mike Sellers. And Mike Sellers went on to do Meridian 59 and later Realm of the Mad God. And, you know, to this day, these are still the people who drive MMOs. That guy who started Lineage went on to be, you know, that was TJ Kim and Jake Song, and they founded Next Song, and they founded NCSoft, right? So we were all
Not turning it
friends.
back
We
on.
all knew each other. And we all swapped ideas all the time. We were a club, we were a scene, and we all gave each other jobs. When Damien left there, we hired him over on UO, and he was named lead on UO2. Right? That's what it was like.
That's a lot of information nobody knows.
Yeah.
That's some
Game
pretty good
studies
stuff.
people know
Yeah,
it.
It's
All
good.
of that stuff is out there.
Yeah. You know, people play these games, but they don't. You know, like game studies people definitely would know that. But you know, that's good. That's awesome. I was going to ask you.
Turn the
Somebody
chair
just brought it
collision
up.
back
Are you
on as
going
soon
to
as we're sitting in
TwitchCon?
it. Because our actor collision is
I
off
don't
now at
know.
that
I don't
point, so it
think
should be
so.
fine.
Is it?
And that way I don't
I
have
didn't
to
never
even go
been.
the year it was in San Diego, where I live.
I've never been. We have a ton of our players. All of a sudden, it's kind of becoming a round up here. We got streamers and stuff that are all going. They're asking me to go, and then somebody just asked if you're going here, and
I don't
they,
even know
they
where
just
it
said
is.
you should speak. You should speak at it.
Oh, well.
But, like at a podium. That would be interesting. I think people would be really interested in that, but that's a whole nother thing, I guess.
I do the thing where I speak at a podium around a half dozen times a year.
Do you?
Hey, what's up again?
Yes.
So I think it's worked.
Just so
let's
you
try
guys
this.
know, you can go to rafcoster.com, and he's got a ton of information, like you know, the timelines of the, you know, I actually mentioned that to you, Raf, about how much I love your timelines of, you know, just the internet timeline of things, basically. And it tells you, like, you know, how, like, I actually didn't even know that EverQuest was launched at the same time as UO. I didn't know that. I thought it
Yeah, as
came
a
much
dev
after.
project, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it came much after. So that's a lot of information on there. You guys can definitely check out. But yeah, with the Twitch thing, I don't know. My players are bugging me to go, and then I thought about, man, it'd be
Makes
pretty
sense.
cool if we got the whole
So you put a little
staff
bit more of a
to go
delay
as
on
little
that based
vacation
on
or
how long the
something.
animation is.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, when we first showed at E3 in Atlanta, showing the
1.667.
alpha or whatever. Yes, E3, the
Go
first couple were in
1.67.
Atlanta. We found EverQuest and Ashron's Call out there on the floor, and we all hung out together. So, yeah, it's funny how times have changed and how some of those folks have now been friends of mine for over 20 years.
You said you're in San Diego?
Yep.
Apparently it's in San Jose.
Yep. Yeah. Not surprised.
Yeah. All right. So, if you were to change one aspect of the
You're back,
game, would you change anything?
I'd probably have started out more aggressive on the player killing stuff and loosened it over time, rather than starting loose and then have had to tighten it. Right. It would have been equally, you know, it would have taken equally as long, but it might not have been as excruciating for the players.
When housing was implemented, what do you think you would have done different from what you know now? Housing always felt like one of those things people would have had a lot of different views on, and that's from Ghost 1001.
When we started out with housing, because we were houses were built out of the individual tiles, all attached to a master object, but they were kind of atomic. They didn't have the notion of this is how big I am when we first implemented. So they didn't know what size they were. They didn't know this position is inside the house, this isn't. That is why early houses used the key system rather than house ownership. That's why you couldn't ban people from houses at first. We didn't know where the outer edge of the wall was. So that was the kind of thing that that we didn't have. And I do wish that we had had that stuff, because it would have simplified a whole bunch of things. All of the house break-in crap that happened, you know, we kept having to say houses aren't secure, because they weren't, but we weren't able to make them secure because we didn't have enough technical infrastructure behind them. And that was because we built them over a weekend. We implemented, you know, all of housing over the weekend using a new technology we called multi-obj, which basically said one dynamically streamed object can point at a larger set of objects that we spawn on the client and on the server simultaneously in parallel with known offsets. That is how boats and houses both work. So think one spawner that spawns a whole bunch of extra stuff with it. And that parent object keeps track of all of the things. So multi-ops technology is the thing that that we put in all at once over that weekend, because Richard had told the public we would have boats with naval battles, and then told us, but don't do housing. And we went ahead and did housing anyway, because we thought it was super important. So yeah, if we'd had the technical infrastructure, people wouldn't have been able to walk up to the roof and fall in. People wouldn't have been able to steal a key out of a backpack and literally take everything about your house, right? Yeah, it would have been nice to have had that sooner.
Yeah, I think, like, as I'm seeing in Twitch chat, a lot of people are loving, like, the house break-ins, sneaking into houses, looting their houses dry. I mean, I loved that back in the day. And I know that, like...
You didn't love it happening to you.
That's true, but don't trust anyone, right? That's the #1 rule in UO. And,
yeah, that's kind of the trade-off, right?
Yeah.
It was great for anybody who aggressed. It wasn't in what was going on. It was fine. But if they did get emotionally invested, it was a problem. And that's how eventually things like house lockdowns started showing up. We were getting things like role players building popular locations like taverns in player cities. Enchu Ponfar's City of You, Cazola's Tavern, things like that. The where were the sporting events, like the wrestling events held? I forget. Was that outside of Skara Brae? Maybe, I don't remember. Wherever those were.
The Gelholm Pits.
There was the Gelholm Pit. Yeah, so there were actually a bunch, right? So all of those kinds of things, normally people would have just been able to steal all of it. Instead, what happened is we had admins in-game go in and lock down the objects tile by tile, wall by wall, because we wanted to support the role players. Because otherwise, it was like dropping a wonderful set of gorgeous role players into a piranha pit. The piranhas would just eat them alive and everything would be destroyed in no time. So we started offering that support, and it was manual and it was incredibly expensive, right? Like, it took hours to lock down that shit. And so that's why we started adding more and more of the automated support, because the role-playing stuff was amazing. Golden Brew players going on tour, doing theater, the birth of Shadow Clan, right? The orcs who started with one role player who started using the orcish language that was in that stupid little book I wrote, and they ran with it.